boots hammered against the cobblestones. The market, usually a roar of commerce, fell into a sudden, suffocating silence. Armored police moved in a tight formation, their hands resting on the hilts of their weapons, clearing a path through the throng. In the center of the formation walked the prisoner. Iron links dragged across the stone, a rhythmic, metallic clatter that echoed off the stalls. His wrists were pulled tight against his frame, the steel biting into his skin. Citizens didn't just step aside. They vanished into the shadows of doorways and behind wooden crates. A woman pulled her child behind a stack of barrels, her gaze locking onto the ground rather than the man. The air felt thick, heavy, with the collective weight of 1,000 judging eyes. Every movement from the police was sharp, aggressive, signaling to the onlookers that the man in their grip was not to be approached. He kept his head forward, eyes fixed on the path ahead, ignoring the murmurs of monster that rippled through the receding crowd. The police pushed harder, forcing the prisoner through the heart of the square, a prisoner of the state and a ghost in his own city. The transport van idled at the edge of the busy intersection. Exhaust fumes hung in the stagnant air, obscuring the view of the surrounding traffic. Inside, the prisoner sat on the metal bench, his hands bound. The engine vibration rattled the floorboards, a low hum that masked the city noise. Outside, a young girl broke away from her mother, chasing a rolling red ball toward the center of the crosswalk. She reached the middle of the lanes, unaware of the heavy cargo truck accelerating from the corner. The driver gripped the wheel, eyes fixed on the path ahead, oblivious to the small figure in his trajectory. The crowd on the sidewalk went rigid. A woman screamed, but the sound was thin against the roar of the approaching engine. The police officers near the van stood frozen, their weapons still holstered, caught in a moment of stunned inaction. The prisoner leaned forward, his eyes tracking the girl, then the truck, then the distance between them. He saw the impending collision. He felt the cold resistance of the locking mechanism on the van door. He braced his feet against the floor and threw his weight against the steel. The lock groaned under the pressure. The lock snapped. Metal shrieked against metal as the door swung outward. He did not hesitate. He lunged from the van, his chains whipping through the air as he sprinted onto the hot asphalt. The girl stood paralyzed in the center of the lane. The truck was 20 feet away, its horn blaring in a long, unbroken roar. He reached her in 4 long strides, his shoulder slamming into her side, sending her tumbling toward the safety of the sidewalk. He did not stop his momentum. He planted his heels, turned, and threw his body directly into the path of the oncoming grill. The metal collided with him with a sickening, hollow thud. He was airborne, spinning, before hitting the pavement 20 feet away. He skidded across the rough surface, coming to a halt in the middle of the intersection. The truck tires screeched, leaving long black rubber streaks on the road as it finally ground to a stop. Blood began to pool rapidly around him, staining the gray stones. The crowd stood in absolute silence, eyes wide, watching the man who had been a prisoner now lying broken and still. Weapons were drawn, but the police held their ground, frozen by the sudden, violent shift in reality. The perimeter tightened as officers advanced, barrels leveled at the prone man. A man in a suit cut through the line of police, his face pale, eyes darting to the broken body on the stones. It was the judge who had signed the warrant years ago. He ignored the shouted warnings from the officers and knelt in the growing stain of red. He reached out, his hand hovering over the prisoner, then resting on his shoulder. The prisoner let out a shallow, rattling breath, his eyes flickering open to meet the judge's gaze. The judge leaned in, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Why risk your life when you had a chance to escape in the chaos?" The prisoner, did not blink. He wiped a streak of blood from his lip, his movements agonizingly slow. He leaned toward the judge, whispering, "One bad history should not tarnish the human spirit for all eternity." The words hung in the air, sharper than the silence that followed. The judge stiffened, his hand pulling back. He stared at the man he had condemned, the certainty he had held for years dissolving under the weight of the moment. Around them, the city seemed to hold its breath. The investigation moved with unprecedented speed. Files long buried in dark archives were brought to light, revealing the engineered web of lies that had sealed his fate. Every headline in the city shifted overnight, replacing the image of a criminal with the truth of a man betrayed by the system. The public outcry became a roar that echoed through the halls of justice. Within weeks, the order for release arrived at the state penitentiary. The heavy iron gates groaned, swinging wide for the first time in years. He stepped across the threshold, his eyes adjusting to the harsh glare of the morning sun. He was no longer shackled. He was no longer a target. A few paces ahead, the judge stood waiting, his posture rigid, but his expression stripped of its former arrogance. As the man approached, the judge extended his right hand, a gesture of apology, a bridge built over the wreckage of the past. The man stopped, looked at the hand, and reached out. The grip was firm. The city watched in silence as the two men stood together, the weight of the past finally set aside, leaving only the clarity of a new beginning.